you into a category of people who do that, and they're the ones who usually get the headlines.
Yeah.
You know the ones who do like ridiculous protests or just say ridiculous things to get attention. But I think we need more people who are like yourself, more educated, well-spoken, who know what they're talking about. You don't have to shout it. I mean, if you say it, people still listen. You don't have to shout or do something ridiculous to get your point across.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I actually really hate being called Greta Thunberg or the UK's answer to Greta Thunberg because of exactly that. You know, Greta she's brought climate change to global awareness by being angry and by shouting at people. And yes, that works, but my approach is completely from the opposite end of the spectrum. So actually, how do we get as many people on board with our messaging? And for me, that's using positivity and hope and fun and communicating on people's levels, you know, having nice, friendly conversations with people and working from the grassroots up. For me, that is the only way in which
education.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how do you say it that's going to resonate with enough people rather than just going too advanced for the scientists? You know what I mean? So
yeah, or dividing people by kind of having really divisive views, or, you know, for example, the Just Stop Oil protests. Yes, I can totally understand where those protesters are coming from, but actually they've caused so much hatred and so many people to actually dislike the whole environment movement, which is quite unhelpful, really.
Yeah, so it's like, what are we going to teach? What are the key things for the next generation? Like our kids, what are they going to grow up thinking? Or like a lot depends on what do we teach them. Yeah,
and I think young people, there are so many passionate young people who want to do everything they can to protect our planet and are really scared about our future. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of young people who don't really care and who are misinformed and who are buying fast fashion and all of that. But I think for those young people who do care, it's so important to try and empower them and make them feel agency, instead of shutting them down or making them feel like they can't make a difference. Because, you know, the climate crisis is such a global, overwhelming issue. Sometimes you think, well, what on earth can I do as one small person?
So you hear that a lot, don't you? What difference can I make? But it's a case of, like, people like yourself educating people. Like, if we all do something, then as a group we're all doing something. You know, things like turning your tap off, or making sure all electricity's off. Or I've noticed some companies are doing some initiatives to save people, like if you turn all your power off in your house for half an hour from 6 p.m. till 6:30, we'll give you some points towards something. You know, and not only does it help with the environment, it saves people money as well, because that's the other thing that people are bothered about as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many changes that we can make that are financially better for our pockets too.
Car sharing as well.
Yeah, or buying secondhand, or like mending
Cycling
what we already have.
All sorts of things that have been. I mean, these things have been happening for years. Certainly, car sharing and like employers doing like paid to cycle to work or things like that. So there's always things we can do, but I mean, how much responsibility lies on big business in all this?
Yeah, well, I really feel that this kind of false dichotomy between, is it business that needs to change, or is it consumers who need to change? Is it people? It shouldn't really exist, because in order to fix the climate crisis, we need levels on all levels of society. We need everyone to change. And that looks like people making making decisions based on our values. So instead of just making decisions based on how much it costs to us, actually like trying to choose and buy and spend our money on what is good for the planet. And when we do that collectively, then suddenly businesses are going to have to change. Like with the plastic bags and kind of big supermarkets, they phased out plastic bag because of consumer demand. And on the other kind of top-down approach, we need governments to make it easier for us as consumers to make the right decision, because sometimes it's too expensive or the infrastructure's not there. So for things like insulating houses and creating better public transport, we obviously need the government to be able to do that too.
Yeah, I was thinking of big businesses and politicians in the same sort of category as who are the people that can say the things that are going to have the biggest impact and the widest reach. And for me, that would be them.
Yeah, I think that every massive change in history has usually started with a small group of citizens who are trying to make change. And yes, that can seem super overwhelming to start with. But our message another way is that if one person was to spread a message to 10 people in one day, the next day those 10 people each went and told 10 more, and so on. It would just take 10 days for the whole world to have been inspired. So I think we shouldn't underestimate the power of our voices to help to create this kind of systemic change. And yes, there's actions that we can do in our lives by the way we consume and travel and eat and all of that. But there's also a huge responsibility for us to vote and to volunteer and to protest and to use our voice to make business and governments listen to us as well.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Amy Bray. If you like this video, please subscribe for more content.